Howdy folks, and welcome back to another video. This is actually the second time I'm going to be completely making this video because for whatever reason, the entire file for my last recording was corrupted. So that being said, let's get into it. Today's topic might be a little bit more controversial and ruffle a few more feathers than most of my videos. I know that I do tend to talk about controversial things, but this one is a bit more volatile. That's because I'm specifically going to be talking about Animal Jam Instagram. And not just the Animal Jam Instagram and Instajammers who make positivity posts and daily uploads and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to be talking about the very large dark side and toxic side of Animal Jam Instagram. I want you guys to know that I'm not going to throw shade towards anybody in this video. In fact, what might be a bit unfortunate for many of you is I'm not going to be providing screenshots in this video, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. I'm not going to be providing screenshots because I don't want any harassment to go towards anybody. And even if I were to black out usernames or blur stuff, you would still be able to track down the people behind them, and I really don't want anybody to get hurt in this video. That being said, if you know anybody in the situations that I will be describing, I encourage you to not spread that information in the comments. If I get any comments encouraging harassment of anybody, bringing up anybody in particular, I'm going to be deleting them because my channel is supposed to be a safe place for all sorts of people. That being said, let's talk about Animal Jam Instagram. On the surface, Animal Jam Instagram has pretty much nothing wrong with it. Outside of YouTube, Instagram is one of the platforms with the largest Animal Jam fan base and the most active users. In fact, a lot of Jambassadors nowadays post almost exclusively on Instagram, and I could definitely see why. A lot of quality content comes out of Animal Jam Instagram, be it update posts about everything that comes out each day, breakdowns of different features and bugs, and all sorts of stuff. In fact, that's where my favorite Jambassador comes from. But Instagram isn't all puppies, glitter, and sunshine because there is a side of Animal Jam Instagram that, in my personal opinion, is really frustrating and feeds into a lot of what I don't like about modern internet culture. While more prevalent on platforms such as Twitter, cancel culture is something that essentially invades all sorts of fandoms all over the internet. If you don't already know what cancel culture is, it can be really, really good or it can be really, really bad. The idea of cancel culture is when a fandom or a group of people who have realized that a certain creator, celebrity, or somebody with a large platform has done something inexcusable and wrong. This fandom or group of people will work together to gather evidence and deplatform the person so that they cannot use their influence to continue to do the bad things or influence anybody in any ways. For example, if there's a content creator who ended up being incredibly creepy towards children, people can gather evidence of what occurred and spread it online and deplatform this person so that they can no longer use their influence to harm children, and because, quite frankly, anybody who does something like that doesn't deserve a platform in the first place. In cases like that where people are actually being harmed and bad things are actively currently happening, cancel culture can be great. I am not one of those people who are like, oh, cancel culture ruined social media and the media is controlling the government. I'm not one of those people. However, cancel culture has gone too far in many cases, and there are circumstances under which I believe cancel culture is wrong. That being said, why am I bringing up cancel culture on an Animal Jam video? Well, I'm glad nobody asked because it's a big problem over on Instagram. More specifically, there is a part of the Instagram community that is very much drama-seeking. Sometimes they make call-out posts for good reasons. There are call-out posts all over Instagram, but I would say that only a handful of them are calling people out for genuinely good reasons. In fact, I would say that there was a specific call-out post over on Instagram that helped open my eyes to somebody who I was very close with in the past for doing some pretty bad things, and I didn't even realize up until that point that they were affecting me as well. And if it were not for these call-out posts on Instagram, I may still be in a friendship with somebody who is not treating me like they should be, and for that I am really grateful. But on the other hand, Instagram has a tendency to call out Animal Jam creators for things that are either really minor or really old. For example, Lemon Puppy, who I'm going to bring up specifically because she did talk about this publicly on her channel. Lemon Puppy, long time ago when she was a lot younger, had scammed people. This was very much in her past, and I'm sure many of you know now that Lemon Puppy is an incredible person. However, after coming out publicly about it, because I feel like that's very fair to admit that you've done something you regret in the past, because many people have, she was attacked, and I pretty sure that a lot of those people came from Instagram. But not even talking about things in the past, nowadays people are getting canceled for things that have happened in the here and now. And sometimes those things are really minor. Sometimes as minor as getting a little bit rude with somebody in DMs or ignoring somebody in-game, which quite frankly is ridiculous. But the main reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because of how Animal Jam Instagram treats Jambassadors. I'm sure you all know that I already have a full-length video on what I think about Jambassadors and how people think about the current Jambassadors in comparison to the old ones, but this isn't about that. This is specifically about how Animal Jam Instagram and sort of the Animal Jam community at large holds up a microscope to almost all the Animal Jam Jambassadors and essentially nitpicks at their behaviors and things that they do. And I can both understand to some extent and absolutely resent it. If you're engaged in the Animal Jam community, at this point you know that the Jambassadors have a pretty bad track record for being canceled and torn apart. In fact, there's tons of memes going around in certain parts of the community about how the Jambassadors are a joke, or Animal Jam doesn't know how to choose Jambassadors with good morals or good people. But I think that reputation is pretty poorly warranted, because my experience with Jambassadors have been overwhelmingly positive, including some Jambassadors who the public might not like so much. There is one thing that I very much do understand when it comes to scrutinizing the Jambassadors, and that is the fact that I can understand why people need to take a closer look at Jambassadors and monitor their behaviors, and sometimes they do need to get canceled for things that maybe aren't so severe if anybody else did it, and that's because, like any influencer, Jambassadors have a larger platform, but even more so for themselves. If I do something minor in my life that's pretty bad or hurts somebody, be it a toxic relationship, or I make a poor decision, it's going to impact more people purely because there's more eyes on it. If I have a platform and I'm peddling something negative, more people are going to be influenced by what I have to say because there are more eyes on me. This goes even further for Jambassadors, who are essentially the face of Animal Jam and supposed to be people who can represent Animal Jam and its game. So if the Jambassadors are saying something that is unagreeable, it can come off as Animal Jam themselves supporting that unagreeable thing. So understandably, there's a lot more issues that come out of Jambassadors doing quote-unquote cancelable offenses than other people, and that much I can understand. And because of this, Animal Jam themselves has some pretty strict guidelines for their Jambassadors as to what they can and can't involve themselves with. However, this ends up being a bit of a double-edged sword. I feel like in a lot of cases when people are going after certain Jambassadors, they've gone after them for things as little as being rude in DMs. And what I want to make very clear is that everybody has bad days. I've had bad days. I've had days where I've had people reach out to me in DMs where I was struggling really hard, I was dealing with something, and quite frankly, I wasn't in the mood. And there has been times where I have responded in ways that I am less than proud of. And I have regretted it, and I have apologized to all of those that I recall. However, things happen. Everybody has their rough days, and while I should have had the wherewithal to realize maybe I shouldn't be responding to this right now while I'm in this headspace, sometimes when you're feeling really garbage, you don't really consider, maybe I should back off of social media as to not harm my reputation or people around me. And so, naturally, people are going to have moments where they get rude or they snap. And as long as they aren't being horrifyingly cruel, a very short and brief, irritated exchange, a bit of rudeness, a bit of sarcasm isn't going to hurt anyone. But I have seen so many call-out posts where people say, my negative experience with insert Jambassador here, and it's just screenshots of a Jambassador who's either very clearly fed up or just exhausted and stressed. And while, yes, I would be severely disappointed if one of my childhood idols responded to me reaching out to them with rudeness or sarcasm, I also really wouldn't judge them for it, because people online can't always keep up their bubbly YouTube persona. That's just how it be sometimes. But even worse is that a lot of these posts, these call-out posts, tend to cut out context, and context can be very important. Sometimes they don't include screenshots of what was said before or after, or sometimes in the middle, and instead decide to write out what happened. And cutting out context for me immediately makes whatever you have to say a lot less believable, which is very ironic considering the fact that I am not using screenshots in this video, which, I mean, fair enough. If you decide not to believe this video, you know, more power to ya. But sometimes these screenshots are cut for malicious purposes. I have seen multiple times in the past where a Jambassador has a call-out post made on them, and screenshots are sent in the post, which make the post seem pretty believable. But when speaking with the Jambassador in DMs, I have been sent screenshots that have a lot more context in them than the public post. But at this point, one of two things is the case. For one, this has already gained so much traction that putting out more screenshots at this point that show that there's more context to the situation than initially thought isn't going to do much but another drop in the bucket, because people are already pitted against you, and as it tends to be, people tend to get angry and it's hard to back them down. But also, another thing that is put out against Jambassadors is that people believe that they ignore drama. And I've learned a little bit more about this over the years that I would like to get into. If a Jambassador does get canceled for something minor or major, a big complaint is the fact that the Jambassadors never really speak out about it. They never address it. They never apologize. Sure, you might get a short post that's saying, hey, there's this rumor about me. It's not true, point blank period. But you're never going to really get a fully nuanced explanation from Jambassadors, especially the relevant ones. And that's because of how Animal Jam handles drama and how they don't want Jambassadors talking about drama, which I didn't know was the case for a while, but I suppose I can understand it. They can address some things like community concerns. For example, if there is a scammer out there that's very well known with plenty of proof, the Jambassador can go out and say, hey, thank you guys everyone for reaching out. Animal Jam is currently looking into this situation. But they're not able to go into details and saying, this person did not scam XYZ, they scammed ABC, they did it with this, and here's screenshots proofs. And that is because, let's say that they're wrong. Let's say this hypothetical scammer wasn't a scammer at all, and you've just canceled an entirely innocent person. And let's say that a Jambassador contributed to this. How is that going to make Animal Jam look as a company? If a Jambassador gets on the wrong side of drama, then that's not going to look good on the company. And even if they are on the right side of drama, regardless of how you contribute to drama, it's going to make the drama bigger. There's never going to be a situation in which everybody agrees, and that is really understandable. So AJHQ's main goal is, instead of addressing drama or bringing it to a head, is to shut it down entirely for the sake of their reputation. And this is true for a lot of companies, so I completely understand whether or not I do like it. Another thing that Jambassadors and influencers in general have been called out for recently in the Animal Jam community is sending fans or family members to quote-unquote attack them. And I have very strong opinions on this. If somebody is actively going to a family member and saying, hey, Blueberry27 made a call-out post about me and I'm very hurt about it, can you give them a talking to? Yes, that would be sending them to attack. But if a family member, let's say my brother saw that somebody made a mean post about me where they're making accusations that weren't true, and my brother goes into their DMs and says, hey, I hate you, you're ugly, you're stupid, and you should go die. That's not on me. If I didn't know that my brother was going out to say those things, if I did not encourage him to go out and say those things, how is that on me? Everybody has a mind of their own, and influencers aren't always the head of their family. Influencers can't always control people they associate with. And the same goes for their fans. If somebody makes cruel posts about me, and I don't address it, which many Jambassadors don't because of their contract, or I do address it and I simply say, hey, don't attack these guys, and they attack you, that's not my fault. Unless I am literally sitting there saying, okay guys, this person canceled me, here's their social media, just because, no reason, here's just the person that attacked me. That's playing coy, and people will go after them, and there is kind of the understanding, especially in the Animal Jam community, when people are younger and more prone to rash decisions. You shouldn't encourage that stuff, and that's why I'm very strong, at least nowadays, with believing that you should probably censor usernames, which wasn't always the case. But I feel like there needs to be a bit more understanding that Jambassadors and content creators as a whole aren't these magical, influential beings who are able to directly control the actions of their family members and fans, because I have too many times seen Jambassadors or creators being gone after because of actions from family members or actions from fans, which they did not endorse and they cannot control. All in all, I really don't like the community on Animal Jam Instagram, at least the toxic side of it. There are plenty of Instajammers that I really do enjoy consuming the content of, but more or less I tend to avoid Instagram because of its rampant drama and how people on there are getting canceled left and right to the point that some Jambassadors have an entire hate train behind them. And I think that it is utterly ridiculous. I can understand making call-out posts on individuals who are doing particularly awful things. However, canceling people for having things such as minor human flaws is ridiculous in my eyes, and And that is why I personally will most likely never post any individual callouts on my page, unless we have another High 9-1 situation where all the evidence is stacked against them and they are actively hurting people repeatedly in a very public way. I'm not going to make a call out post because Skinny Jammer 21 was rude to somebody in DMs, or JFeather39 scammed one person or two people or five people. If I'm going to make a post about individuals, I'm going to make sure that it is well researched and that they are an active and continuous threat to the community. Not to the community's items, not to the community's accounts, but the community players as individuals. And I feel like people should make that into account nowadays as well. I can understand making a call out post to keep away from particular scammers, but the extent to which people go to try to ruin somebody's online character and somebody's image is ridiculous in my opinion. And I think that there should be a lot more thought put into things before you make cancellations on them. Because one thing that I feel like is frequently forgot is that behind this little Red Otter Animal Jam avatar, behind the little Griffin avatar, behind the monkey avatar, there are real people with real lives, with real struggles and with real stresses. And not everyone can always keep on this little fake persona of a little YouTube guy or a little Instagram guy all the time. It's stressful, and mistakes happen, and you learn and you grow for them. But that doesn't make them bad people. You can make mistakes, and yes, you can even do bad things and still be a good person. But there's one more thing I want to talk about. Why is Instagram as bad as it is? Why does the cancellations and the drama get to the extent that it does in the Animal Jam community? Of course, there's plenty of other fandoms with plenty of other dramas, but I in my life has only ever seen one other fandom with as rampant, minor, stupid interpersonal drama on its platform. That being the My Singing Monsters community, which is a whole nother can of worms to open. But why does it get this bad? I think this is because of a few reasons, but the biggest one that I want to talk about is the fact that the Animal Jam community is full of mostly children. Yes, there are still adults who play Animal Jam. Yes, there are still teenagers who play Animal Jam, but a lot of the people that are active within the community are young teenagers or children who are more likely to believe what they see on the internet and more likely to take things to heart. Which then means that they're going to make a lot more posts about it, take things a lot more seriously. And being young, you can really root yourself into beliefs that you have and have a little bit of self-righteousness that you aren't willing to let go of. I have a little bit of insider on this myself. When I was younger and around the time that Feral was taken off of the internet, I was one of those people where I would love making cancellations about people for no reason on my old Animal Jam account. And when Feral was taken down, I lost my marbles. I went nuts. I said a lot of things that I probably regret, and it was just not great. And there were a lot of people doing that, and there are a lot of people doing that, because when you're younger, your emotions tend to be a lot stronger, you tend to hold on to your viewpoints a lot harder, and it's a lot harder to have an educated debate with somebody who is young than an educated debate with somebody who is grown and mature. So I also don't think that you should go after these people who are making these call-out posts, because even if they aren't children, again, they're human themselves. And I just feel like maybe we need a little bit more perspective within the community. That's why I try as hard as I can to be that perspective. And it's even harder in a community that is so full of the neurodivergent, that people who are neurodivergent and people who have mental illnesses and disorders tend to also be a lot more strong-willed within the community and within arguments and within cancellations. And so that's why I try to do my best to cover some sort of dramas here and there to help quell arguments and whatnot. That being said, I know this is a more ranty video than usual, but it was something that I wanted to talk about and some of my fans and friends wanted me to talk about. So I decided to talk about it. Look forward to a few videos in the future that I am really getting into. For example, my next video is most likely going to be a 5,000 subscriber special, where I'm going to be reviewing my animation memes from when I was in middle school. So that's going to be pretty fun, and thank you guys for watching. I hope you all are doing pretty well today. I hope you guys had a good week, and I'll see y'all around.